Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome back to our series on the Havamal. Today we're looking at verse 132. The first translation is by Olive Bray. They know but unsurely who sit within the manner of man is come. None is found so good, but some fault attends him, or so ill, but he serves for somewhat. And then the second translation by W.H. Auden and P.B. Taylor. The sitters in the hall seldom know the kin of the newcomer. The best man is barred by faults, the worst is not without worth. And then Vikinger.org. Vice and virtues are the sons of mortals bare in their breasts mingled. No one is so good that no failing attends him, nor so bad as to be good for nothing. So, vice and virtue. All people have their strong points, and we all have our shortcomings, and that is the nature and the reality of the human race. The sooner we make peace with that, the better off we will be. Blind hero worship makes the inevitable discovery of personal faults absolutely devastating. People can become very disillusioned, and the fact that it is self-inflicted does not make it less painful. And then excess criticism that really renders people blind when someone they disapprove of does something admirable. The expression that even a broken clock is right twice a day, that expression exists for a reason, that sometimes even people you severely disagree with, people who you don't have very much in common with at all, they can still get something right. And it's important to judge the substance of what people are saying and doing, and not just taking into consideration our estimation of them as a person and whether or not we get along with them. Now, when we're dealing with strangers and we first meet them, we don't know what to expect of them, or what kind of, what their mixture of good and bad really is within themselves, or, what side of the scale of good or bad they really lean towards. So it's best just to not rush to judgment. Allow people's words, deeds, and the company they keep to reveal their character. That's going to tell us a more convincing story, a much more complete story about that. And then family culture. When we don't know someone, that means it's also pretty likely that we don't know the family that they came from. And without knowing the family, we are even less able to make educated guesses about their character. Families have their own culture, and how someone is raised has a deep impact on how they conduct themselves on adults. Sometimes they carry on with the tradition, sometimes they are a rejection of their family. But either way, knowing about the family informs us about the person. And when we don't have that information, well, it makes it much more difficult. And then first impressions. It is worth reminding ourselves that while our intuition can be spot on at first glance, sometimes first impressions can be very misleading. Sometimes our intuition, we might be getting a bad vibe or a very good vibe, but we don't necessarily know why. And the question of why plays a large role in what it is our intuition is trying to communicate to us. And we don't always sort that out correctly on the first go. And then we do have unscrupulous people who can put on a good front that fools. Now, when you're dealing company of witches, or people who have empathic capabilities, or someone who just has a good, solid understanding of human nature, it's much good front and and fool them, but it is still not impossible. And then we have, by contrast, good people. They may be a bit awkward at first, or perhaps they're having a bad day, and they don't always give a good account of themselves on the first impression. It does happen, and sometimes we have to allow ourselves to not be too prejudiced by what we see at first, but to allow ourselves to take in more information, take into consideration future conduct, and to allow ourselves the freedom of forming our opinions over time. We live in such an instant gratification, everything has to be done just right this second, and snap decisions and everything else. We are so accustomed and immersed in that environment that we forget that we don't actually have to go through life in that way. We can take our time. We can reserve judgment. We can allow ourselves a period of evaluation. We don't have to just instantly come to conclusions. And it's very healthy for us not to instantly reach conclusions about everything. And it is worthwhile examining who we are surrounding ourselves with, and whether or not we are receiving undue pressure to remain in this, old for a fast mode all of the time. It may be necessary to create some distance. So that's what I got out of the verse. Let me know in the comments what you took out of this verse. Were you on the same line of thought as I was? Did you take something else from it? Are there examples that you would like to discuss, when you have seen this play out in action? I'd be very interested to hear, so don't be bashful. But that will do it for now. Come back next week. You'll get the next verse, and I will see you then. Bye.